This video is a great video to practice when you are just getting back into shape and maybe you've had an illness or an accident and your body is just ready to start moving, but with some lower level core strengthening. That's what we'll do today. Please listen to your body, and if you feel pain instead of strain, that's probably a sign that you've done too much or you've gone too far, or maybe your body's just not ready for that motion yet. So let's explore. So you're going to start laying on your back in a comfortable position. Place your hands on your lower belly and firm up your lower belly by just imagining that the space between your belly button and your pubic bone is drawing back towards your backbone. You're going to try to keep that firmness while you pick up 1 foot 1 inch. Now with your hands on your tummy, you can also feel if your pelvis is kind of rocking side to side. You want to try to use your body to keep your pelvis really stable while you lift that foot. We'll hold it about 5 seconds and place it back down. And then we'll try the other side, firming up the belly. You might find yourself pressing through the opposite leg. That's okay. And we'll do about 10 of those. Now, if you feel like you're lifting your leg and your pelvis is rocking too much and you just can't stabilize it very well, then the motion that you can try is just a bent knee fall out. And you can bring your knee out to the side. It's a little bit easier to try to control the pelvis. So find your place with this exercise, and we'll repeat on each leg 10 times. And now we're going to work, so that kind of works the bottom of the abdomen and the lower pelvis. We're going to do top of the abdomen and shoulder girdle next. And so for this exercise, I want you to think about your rib cage tucking down towards the floor. So here's my rib cage up and my back is a little bit arched, and we want to tuck the rib cage down towards the floor. And then the arms will come up, and you're going to keep your rib cage flattened while you bring one arm overhead. So arms start up in the air, and then one arm is going back. And if that feels too easy, and I can keep my rib cage stable very easy with one arm moving, then you can do both arms. If that feels like too much of a shoulder stretch, you don't need to go too far. But what we're trying to accomplish is stability in the torso without additional movement here. So keeping your abdomen stable. And once you've found your range of motion and what your body needs to keep your rib cage stable, you can do 10 of these. We have a little visitor. And our last exercise in this position, we're going to work the back side of the body with either a bridge or a pelvic tilt. So this is going to work our hamstrings and our glutes and the lower back. And what we're going to do here is try to lift the hips upward toward the ceiling using the back of the body. and then coming back down. If that feels like too much, another option is to just tilt your pelvis. Lift your tailbone, but not your back. So either tilting your pelvis, feeling the contraction through the glutes, or lifting all the way up, or even just part way up. So finding strength and stability through the back part of the body. And then go ahead and find what you need for this exercise, and we'll repeat that 10 times. Now, another thing we didn't talk about is breath. And it's really important to try to coordinate your exhale during the hard part of the motions. So I'm going to breathe out as I lift my hips up or as I do my pelvic tilt. And it doesn't have to be a very hard breath with a lot of power or force, but you want to try to coordinate that. That helps your pelvic floor muscles and your breathing diaphragm to equalize pressure throughout your core while you're doing the exercise. Okay, so we finished what we're going to do in laying on our back. Now you're going to come on your side, because your core muscles really function in 360 degrees. And so we want to make sure that we're going all the way around in a circle when we work on the core. So a great exercise for the side of the hip and that part of your core stabilization is called the clamshell. And what you're going to do is just lift your knee, but keep your feet together. And also your pelvis is going to stay relatively stable here. Now, where's the effort in this motion? It's going to be as you lift your knee up. So you want to try to breathe out as you lift your knee. These muscles don't get worked or isolated very often, so they can be very fatiguing. If you can't make it to 10, that's okay. You just stop when you get fatigued. And also, if you need a pillow to be a little bit more comfortable here, or if you would rather kind of be up on your elbow to do this exercise, you can do that. But the goal is not to shift your pelvis. Really keep the pelvis stable and make the side hip work. Now, if you're feeling it more in the front of the hip, then you can try pushing, making your knees even with the rest of your body and trying your clamshell in this position. That tends to isolate the bottom a little bit better. Okay, and then the other exercise we have in this position is just coming up on your elbow. We want to work the shoulder girdle. So if your elbow is right underneath your shoulder, what you're going to do here is just lift your rib cage up and then bring it back down. So ribs lift up. You're going to feel the muscles of your armpit activating here and then down. Now, if this feels really easy and you'd like a little bit more, you could give yourself some support with your other hand and lift your hips. But that might feel a little bit, that might be a little bit too much. So you're going to sink your ribs down and lift your ribs up. We'll do that 10 times. 2. And maybe for the last few, you want to try a little bit more of a lift. Remember breathing out during the hard part. Okay, and now we're going to continue with our 360 degrees to work the back muscles. So when we work the core, we want to think about not just the abdomen, but the shoulder girdle, the hip girdle, the back body, and the front body. So this is a really nice exercise for the back body. You're going to take your hands, spread your fingers, plant them right underneath your shoulders. Don't let your body sag. You want to lift your rib cage and your spine up toward the ceiling. Go ahead and take one leg and extend it out behind you. Now this might be where it's at for you, or you might be able to lift your leg and hold it. So your arms are firmly planted, your torso is raising up toward the ceiling, your butt cheeks are contracting, and you're going to extend your leg out. So that might be just a small little lift, that might be a bigger lift, but we don't want to go above the line of the body. So this one we're going to hold, we're going to build a little endurance here. We'll hold it for 5 seconds. And then repeat. So remember, the other side of the body might feel very different depending on your level of balance. Press into your hands, strong through the shoulders. Don't let the body sag. Lift the mid-body, the mid-torso, and the stomach area up toward the ceiling. And then try to go ahead and lift your other leg. Now, when we do an endurance exercise, it's just helpful if you breathe. Don't hold your breath and just let your breath flow in and out. Good. We'll do 3 of those on each side. So number 2. Sometimes it's helpful if you tuck the toes of the balancing leg. You figure out what's right for you there. And then you also want to try to keep your pelvis level. Like this is not a very level pelvis. I want to try to keep both hips in the same line. And then we will finish off our series with our 360 series with our clamshells and our shoulder girdle strengtheners on the other side. So we're aiming for about 10 of these clamshells, exhaling during the hard part, during exertion. Remember, you want to feel it here, not here. If you're feeling it here, you can try to bring your knees back. Clamshells get me every time. They are fatiguing little muscles in your hips. So 10 of those, and then we'll finish with our shoulder girdle presses. Make sure your elbow's right underneath your shoulder. Your hand is planted and firm, and then your ribs will drop down towards the floor and then lift up towards the ceiling. And you're really doing that with the muscles of your shoulder. And your shoulder needs to be strong. Your shoulder girdle needs to be strong and integrated into your rib cage to really have that upper body support that you need from core strength. And again, if this feels easy for you and you want to add a little bit more, you can press your hips up, either using the other hand or not. Those are your options there. So you just finished beginner level core 360. That was really fantastic. I think it's really nice at the end of an exercise session just to lay down on the mat, do a little bit of stretching and some deep breaths. You can do that if you like, or get on with your day.